everybody. Welcome to Dubstock Live, brought to you by Mancini's Sleep World. Zena, Keita, Kerith, Burke here. Zena, we have a lot to discuss, a lot to digest here, and it starts with that 44-point third quarter lead the Dubs had. A 44-point third quarter, an 18-point lead. Then the fourth quarter collapsed, just 20 points. And then the ball back in Nikola Jokic's hands. He tied the game. He won the game. Can we see that final shot? Look, I know it's painful, but let's review this. Remove yourself from what you know about Jokic. This is a center hitting a 39-foot three-pointer. What? He like shot putted that thing over his head. Look at his shooting motion and how improbable this was. Yes, he is a two-time MVP, but this shot was absolutely wild. And this is one of the worst finishes of the season for the Warriors, an absolute gut punch. What are you thinking about how this game ended?
So it's interesting. Earlier in the, it's interesting.
Anytime you say that, I'm just gonna put this microphone down.
So okay, look at this. Let's just look at this graphic right now. Biggest lead. Here are 18+ point leads that they're ending in losses. And we're gonna talk about the fact that the Warriors have struggled this season. I mean, KB, baby girl, you were watching this from home, but we've been going through this. We've been going through it, okay? This is what we've been seeing, all right? This is what we're used to, unfortunately. The Warriors not being able to close out in clutch moments, even though they've gotten Stephen Curry. You saw that tonight. That actually wasn't the key. When you think about a tie ball game, you think about clutch minutes. You think about who do I want to have the ball in their hands?
Yeah.
It's Stephen Curry, of course. And of course, he ends up being the person that has the fatal intercepted turnover at the very end of the game, trying to make a cross-court pass to Andrew Wiggins. It's not what you would expect. It's not what you would want, but it happens. Then, like you said, I don't know. I'm just imagining what it feels like to be out there. I've been in situations where we've lost games that we were up. And what it really feels like is like whiplash. It's very disorienting in the moment because you have a moment where you literally think about the Warriors. You are up 15, then 18. You're chest bumping, going to timeouts. You have all the energy and the momentum forward, and you're jovial. You're having a great time. Everyone's like just enjoying themselves. And then you look up, and your fate is resting in the hands of a two-time MVP center whose shot release is like a rainbow arc. And here you are. There's nothing you can do other than just hope, hold your breath, and see where it lands. And that is very disorienting. It's very much like a, what the heck just happened? And like we've seen, it's happened several times this season.
Okay, show's over. No, I mean, I asked Steve Kerr, what did you think about Jokic's shot? He had the ball in his hands with about 4 seconds left, so he had to come up the court. Looney was on him the whole time. As Steve said, it didn't look like it was going to go in. He thought it was long, but it banked in. And
from my angle, which was facing that shot, I actually thought it was going in the whole time. It looked on target. Now, what's interesting about that, and I love to say interesting, but what is like, you want to look at the stats, going into the fourth quarter, the Nuggets were 6 of 20 from three. They were not shooting the ball well. They were literally at 30%. And the Warriors had stepped up their perimeter defense, had done a great job. To imagine that Jokic only had 2 threes this whole game, and it's that one, the dagger, the devastating dagger that he hits. I mean, yeah, it hurts.
All right.
It's painful.
More things to digest because, as you mentioned, Steph's turnovers, he only had 2 in this game. One of them was absolutely devastating. We need to mention that in the fourth quarter, Aaron Gordon came on, 30 points, 15 of those in that final frame. And then to your point about these clutch games, you guys have been talking about this all season, 27 clutch games for the Warriors. They are now 13 and 14. And there were just some puzzling things in this game, in that late fourth quarter collapse there. We didn't see Jonathan Kampinga come in the final 18 minutes of the game. He was a starter in this game. Where did he go? That question came up post-game with Steve Kerr. Here was the answer.
He was playing great, and you know, his normal time to go back in would have been around the 5-6 minute mark. And Wiggs was playing great, and we were rolling. We're up 18, 19, whatever it was. And so we just stayed with him. And then at that point, it didn't feel, like it was the right thing to do. He'd been sitting for a while. So I stayed with the group that was out there. And obviously, we couldn't close it out.
He was sitting for a while. It didn't feel right to go back to him. We stayed with the group that we had. Okay. We know Jonathan Kaminga can be a spark. Something is not adding up to me with Steve's answer there. And wasn't there that game, I think it was Portland game, December 7th? Jonathan Kaminga looked like he was going to be a DMP, but then he went in at the end, was 6 of 6, was the spark that helped win that game. This is not adding up to me because you also see something puzzling like Looney and Saric on the floor at the same time. Like, what were they doing with the combinations in the fourth quarter? I don't know.
It's a great question.
Okay.
I don't know either, because it is very hard to contemplate why someone like Jonathan Kaminga, who's always had energy, who's always been able to play regardless of if he's been sitting, if he's not been sitting, he's always been able to show up. And he was showing up all game tonight. He was making great decisions offensively, whether it was for his own production or the production of his teammates. And he was hounding Jamal Murray. And I know Jamal Murray ended up with 25, but he didn't get those easy. He was definitely challenged by Kaminga. And so it was very confusing to see him sit and then to make the explanation that it just didn't make sense at the time. And I'm sure that he's not going to be satisfied with that answer. And I'm sure that Steve Kerr is going to probably review that internally and be like, okay, maybe that wasn't enough of a good answer of like why we didn't play him. But I definitely would have expected Jonathan Kaminga to close out in that time, particularly because Aaron Gordon was going off.
Yeah, were the Warriors going for size, for rebounding, for like? I'm trying to figure out the reasons in my head, trying to add it up, and it's all unsatisfactory. Have I said that word a few times? Unsatisfactory.
You haven't used it too much yet, but I think it's a great word.
Sure.
You're just not satisfied with that response, or you're not satisfied with that explanation.
Yeah.
And with Looney and Saric, I will say, Saric had a wonderful game tonight. I think
he did.
I think he was doing a lot of great things for the team. Now, people have comments around Saric's ability to defend the basket. Of course, that is a difficult thing for him to do, but he made shots, key shots when he needed to make them. He was incredibly depth around the basket, being able to be patient, get up and pump fake and find a way to make baskets. And then also rebounding and assists. He had 6 assists tonight. So he's very active in getting his teammates involved too. So I think that he was out there for that reason, to keep that momentum going.
I get that.
And Kevon was out there because he also was being pretty deft around the basket and being strong going up.
And Looney is no stranger to Jokic. Maybe he knows his tendencies. I mean, I just don't want to. Does it sound like excuse making? Because again, I am puzzled by this. I don't know. I'm trying to add it up a little bit, and we can shoulda, coulda, woulda, all of this. But this is one of the worst losses of the season. And not just, in the media room, we were talking about how by points, the loss to Sacramento was 24 points. That's more than 18 points tonight. But emotionally, because you just faced this team on Christmas. That was a close game. That was a hard-fought game. You have the lead, an 18-point lead here at Chase Center. This could have been a redemption game.
Whiplash.
Whiplash, as Zena put it.
It's whiplash.
Looking up that Christmas game, Klay Thompson had 9 points in 32 minutes. You know he wanted to come out and be a sharpshooter tonight. Let's go to Klay Thompson. Let's see some of the tape because he's our BMW ultimate performer tonight. Looking at his game, he got going with some three-pointers, which I like seeing that from Klay because he can draw the defense. There's been this discussion, I've heard a little bit about Klay can't draw 2 defenders anymore. What are you talking about? This is Klay Thompson.
There's 2 right there. There's 2 right there.
So
and a foul, so there you go.
What did you think about Klay Thompson, looking at him going 9 of 18 from the field?
I loved his confidence tonight shooting the ball. He didn't hesitate. He put that thing up with a quick release, and he was able to get to his spots. And that's so key for Klay because he is a rhythm shooter. He needs to be able to catch the ball in the right pocket, and then he also was able to create, which you've seen, Klay Thompson has sometimes in some games really relied on his three-point game, and today you saw him driving in, being able to find some shots, and also playing some really great defense too for the team. So I was really impressed with Klay Thompson's game and just the energy that he brought, and it really uplifted. I think he was the first one to get going before Steph, and I think that was a really great energizer for the Warriors.
All right, Klay Thompson can be very honest in post-game interviews. Let's see what he has to say at the podium right now.
So Klay, you guys came out extremely aggressive in the third. What do you think happened where you guys just kind of lost your lead?
I think we probably just got too cool out there rather than playing with that same grit that had us up double digits.
You guys have had like 4 or 5 of these, kind of late game losses this year. I mean, is there a common thread with these?
I don't know. I think we had the ability to close, and I think the silver lining is that there have been a lot of games like this. Therefore, there's no reason to let doubt creep in. Let's just learn from it, dissect the film, and learn how to close, because I wholeheartedly believe in this team, and we're obviously without one of our best players, and it'll help very much when Draymond comes back, and we'll figure it out.
Klay, do you remember what was going through your mind when Jokic, spotted up from 39 feet?
No way. He's a great player, though. I'm not making it. Yeah, that was a big shot.
And you talked the other night about, how that conversation with Steve really kind of helped you change your mentality. Has it been easy to kind of stick with that same mentality the past couple of days? Do you feel like that was kind of a turning point?
Oh, yeah.
For you?
Oh, yeah. Steve really helped me not look for external validation. Helped me relax and enjoy the game I love so much again, rather than trying to please naysayers or whoever. He just is really good at giving us players perspective about things.
Klay, you said you guys played it too cool at the end. What does that mean to you?
Not being as aggressive to go to the rim, maybe leaving shooters too wide open. I mean, give credit to Peyton Watson. I know he's not the greatest three-point shooter, but he hit a huge three. And, yeah, that's what it means.
Klay, y'all spent so many years knowing exactly what you were going to do as a team at the end of games. How is there any drawback from not having anything set and it being game to game, who's playing and what you're doing out there?
I don't think so, because I think every year is totally different and unique. So this year it's been rocky at times, but luckily it's, an 82 game slate, and we have a lot of basketball ahead of us. Obviously, we have a golden opportunity here with 3 more games on this homestand, and we look forward to being victorious in all of them. That would be a nice way to kind of turn things around.
You mentioned how much you guys missed Draymond. Where did you see moments and down the stretch where he could have been very helpful to you?
Oh, everywhere. I mean, it's Draymond Green. He does everything. I just, we're all just so excited when he comes back, because, it doesn't even have to be stated what he means to this team.
Alrighty, when we come back, let's talk about what I thought we were going to talk about in this game had it been a win. A marvelous bench efforts. We're going to touch on Pods, Sarge, Wiggins. Hey, stick around. Dubs Talk. We'll be right back.
Dubs Talk Live is presented by Mancini Sleep World. Visit Mancini Sleep World. We'll pay the sales tax on select mattresses. Or visit sleepworld.com.
What's up, YouTube? How are you guys?
Uh-oh, Paige isn't available.
I feel like that's a dumb question.
Hang on a minute. Wait a minute. I might have the wrong link. I know you guys can see me. There you go. Okay, I can't see any of the comments yet. Scale of 1 to 10. How much of a meltdown are people having?
I think there's going to be a lot of calls for things. I won't say them out loud, but I think that people's calls for certain actions to be made.
Certain shakeups?
Yes.
Maybe?
Because that is
Maybe?
usually what happens.
Sure. Sure.
I'm sure there's a lot of questions. I'm sure there's a lot of questions
Listen.
because there was some questionable decision making in the fourth quarter.
There you go.
Whether it was on the court in terms of shots, in terms of helps on defense, offensive choices, lineup choices.
Nobody is beyond criticism.
Correct.
And when you look at 27 clutch games, is there something the coaching staff can do to help their team help the team get these wins? Right combinations. We've talked about closing lineups all the time. There's different closing lineups. Of course, you have to match, defensively you have to match the other team's personnel. But can we get some consistency in the closing lineup maybe?
That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing you need is the consistency. But I will give them the benefit of the doubt and play a little bit of devil's advocate. It is incredibly hard to do that when you don't have consistency in your players. When you have a Moses Moody who can come in and drop 3 threes in a few minutes at the end of a game and then not do that the next game. When you have someone like Klay Thompson that can have games where he scores 9 points and then have games where he comes in and he scores 24. They haven't had consistency either. So it's hard to lock in a lineup when you're not sure what they're going to give you every single night.
Welcome back to Dubstock Live, brought to you by Mancini's Sleep World. This looks like one of those games. Had it been a win, we would have been talking about the bench effort tonight, helping to preserve leads, help build leads. Specifically with BP, he had 3 threes in the third quarter. He was feeling himself after one of them. One of them gave the team a 15-point lead, and you're like, okay, redemption game, okay. Because he kind of shook off a bad start. We were watching him from press row. He was talking to the referees a little bit. He gave up some backdoor cuts. So he was in his head a little bit, but then he started going, okay, next shot, next shot. Here's that shot right there. Boom. Oh, that wasn't the one for the 15-point lead. Wait a minute, he's got another one. But I think he's discovering where are his spots. His teammates know where his spots are. I think this is just video of the bench doing well, which is good. We can watch this. Look, when the Nuggets switch everything and Saric can get some mismatches, there you go. He's going to get some high percentage shots inside too. So that's the one right there. This is the one I think he does the shoot. We cut the video, but I think he did some finger guns too.
Oh, yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
This guy feels himself.
I'm going to tell you right
really
now,
like that.
he's got some swagger to him.
I know.
He, as a rookie, he's literally doing the get hype. Like,
for the
you
crowd.
don't see that out of a rookie. Telling an arena, an NBA arena to get hype, and he's been doing that since game 1. So his confidence, his swagger, his audaciousness with just audacity, with the way that he is just full of swagger, I respect it.
I like it too.
I genuinely respect it because only can you have that when you also match it with playing hard.
Yeah, you got to back it up.
You got to back it up. And this man, there was a tweet that went out that said, he plays like he's in game 4 of the finals and his team is down 3-0.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Yeah.
The way he plays defense, the way he helps, the way he traps, the way he finds a way to get himself involved in everything, but I think in a good way. Sometimes you can overdo it, right? And I think he's been doing it in a really, really good positive way.
There's a difference between confidence and arrogance. He's playing with confidence.
Say
I
that,
like that.
Kerith.
And that's
right.
tough. You're with the Golden State Warriors, a championship team. You look who's on the floor with you. And you're like, no, I'll shoot this 3.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Give it to me. I'll shoot this 3.
I mean, even down to the last in the fourth quarter when I said there were some questionable decisions, he did have a take that did not go in. But to set that up, Chris Paul was open on the wing, and he didn't pass it. And we know catch and shoot Chris Paul is money.
Yeah.
And he looked him off, and Chris Paul cleared the court. And I was actually surprised by that decision. I don't think that was one of his best points of tonight's game, but that is a confident move for a rookie to say, you know what, let me take on Michael Porter Jr., I think, who was defending him, right? But he has gained that trust for Chris Paul to be like, all right, let me clear. Let me give you the space, right? I think that was indicative of you've done enough to show that you deserve this space to be able to take it on your own and see if you can do it.
I'm also trying to rewind that tape in my head. I think his corner 3, Pods' corner 3 that gave the team a 15-point lead, I want to say that was in transition. It was a feed from CP3, so it had to be heads up. He had to race to the corner. He had to be one of the first people down the court, too. That kind of hustle says a lot. It also says a lot that after a really heart-wrenching game like this, he's one of the media good guys. Pods went to the podium today. Thank you, Pods. I mean, he had this moment of honesty where he's like, we didn't have wins and losses like this in college. I mean, he's trying to digest these clutch games too, and he's like, we could have 20 wins at this point, 25 wins, he said, if we just lock down these games. And you see a rookie who knows what the problems are, but knows maybe he can't be as he can't say I'm on the podium.
Hey, but even
Yeah.
with the things that he has said, he has been more vulnerable and transparent about the issues that the Warriors have faced. Whether it's been talking about their energy, whether it's been talking about their focus, whether it's been talking about their ability to close games, he has been talking, again, like a leader.
Yeah.
What you would expect, I would hear out of Draymond Green, has been coming out of Brandon Podziemski's mouth. And I'm just like, okay, here's a rookie that knows what they got to do, and he isn't afraid to address it. And I think that vulnerability and that rawness of him as a rookie feeds into his game and how much he wants it, the passion with which he plays, but also in the way that he assesses the game and assesses the things that he could do better.
Yeah, I think the Warriors found a gem. Wasn't there a game, was it the last game where he took credit for a loss or something like that?
And then Klay was like dramatic rookie.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Steph Curry in the Christmas game against Denver. For some reason, Steph has trouble in these Christmas games. He finished with 18 points, but that was in 34 minutes. Steph Curry tonight, you knew he was going to draw a lot of attention. What did you think about Steph's game?
Oh, Steph's game was fun tonight. He was throwing that thing up, but obviously in the right pockets. And that's another thing with Steph is when you put the ball in his hands, he can create. You don't always have to do these, let him run around, try to lose his defender, etc. He can do this. He can dissect defenses. He can get to the basket. And so you saw a little mix of that, and you love when you're able to see all the versatility of Steph's game and that he's able to do that against someone like a Denver, right? With the height that they have, with the strength that they have. I mean, he was going up against Michael Porter Jr., going up against Aaron Gordon. I mean, Reggie Jackson, having his way with Reggie Jackson. So, I mean, it was fun to just be able to see all the different ways that Steph can score, but also seeing his team being able to set him up in that way, too.
All right. When we talk a little bit about consistent lineups as we have on YouTube, thanks for everybody watching on YouTube. Another element is coming back. It's Draymond Green. We'll let you know the latest with Draymond because that word soon is coming up regarding Draymond's return. That's next on Dubs Talk Live, brought to you by Mancini Sleep World. Hey-oh. All right, we got a comment from Noah here who says, we are cooked as currently constructed. Interesting. It will be more nights like this. If you can't get stops trying to win consistently, we give up far too many points, so the offense has to put up 130. It was the Warriors had 107 points after the third quarter. This was not a game, like a very strong defensive game, I would say. Yeah,
but it wasn't
a 20
It was a fun
fourth
offensive
quarter.
game, though. And I think that every time that you have Chris Paul in the mix, you can expect that. Steve Kerr has said this, that he put Chris Paul in the mix to help Steph get going.
Well, to help Steph play off ball.
And play off ball, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, to not have to have Steph always create. But Steph can create, so, to each his own on that. But I think that you have an expectation to put the ball up, especially when Chris Paul is in the mix, because he's gonna be involved in that way. He only had 6 assists, which it felt like he had so much more. But between Chris and Dario Saric, the only ones with a positive plus minus in their contributions, and they both had 6 assists.
Yeah.
And no turnovers from Chris Paul. So
30 points for Steph to lead the way. 6 assists, 2 turnovers. 2 turnovers.
You hate when those type of games happen.
The one
Those
turnover.
great games that are losses.
Yeah.
Right? It feels like a waste.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys saw Steph's face when that shot went up and he was just chewing on that mouth guard. Like, I feel you.
Yeah, we're waiting on Steph to come to the podium. We may or may not hear from him on this show, but we'll cut up his sound. You can find that on NBCS Warriors because I definitely want to hear what Steph has to say after this game.
Oh, yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Dubs Talk. Zena and Kerith here. Take a look at the latest from Woj. Got a little Woj bomb about Draymond. He's been on his indefinite suspension since December 13th, but he could be back at the Warriors facility in the coming days. Coming days would be next week, guys. And then that doesn't mean he's going to play immediately. The suspension has to end, but then of course he's going to need some time to condition. We just got Steph at the podium. Does that mean we're going to hear from them, Producer Flo? Okay, let's go to Steph.
What were we up? 16? 6 minutes left, whatever it was. Gordon and Watson hit some big shots. We got a little stagnant on offense. It's weird. I actually just watched the whole last 6 minutes. We were trying to milk the clock in certain possessions and started to play a lot slower than we had the whole game. And then you're subject to makes and misses with their defense set. And then on the other end, they just made play after play after play, and we just couldn't get enough stops. Had too many fouls. Got them to the free throw line. They made them. And then it comes down to a bad possession by me, obviously throwing that pass. CP's open at the top. Never know how that plays out. And then basketball gods took over from there with Jokic's shot. So tough way to finish, with how we played the whole game.
Steph, you guys have 5 of these games that you probably would have said you would have won. How do you explain a team with so much championship experience not being able to handle this situation?
Well, each of them are for different reasons. The Sacramento game was a bunch of turnovers. This one was just one with subpar offense and defense for a sustained 5-minute stretch. The other games for different reasons. It's just the nature of the season right now. So I don't know. You don't want to be in a position where you're having to explain away bad losses, but that's who we are right now.
Do you find it?
Ooh, that is an exasperated man right there. All right, so the Warriors miss an opportunity to get back to 500. Where should the Warriors' emotions be right now?
I think there should be a level of anger, but it needs to be focused. It needs to be controlled and channeled into something that allows them to improve their game, execute better or something in their game, or eliminate aspects of their game that are contributing to these losses. You do have to have some passion around the fact that you are a championship team, as that reporter asked, and you're not able to close these games, and you should be. You've got the talent, as Klay said. You're capable of getting into these positions, but you should be able to close. So I think there should be some sort of frustration, but as long as it's focused into something positive, I think that's where their emotion should be.
All right, 14 losses in clutch games this season. We can coulda, shoulda, woulda what the Warriors' record ought to be, but the record is the record. It's 16-18. They are coming up short in these games where they have massive double-digit leads. This is tough. You guys have been talking about this on Dubs Talk a lot this season?
That's what it's been. It's been this feeling of, you think you know them, right? And then just like Steph said, but that's who we are. And that, I think, is the part that makes anyone watching whoa, what's happening right now? What's being unraveled right now? What are we seeing happen in front of our eyes?
I want to know what Steph is thinking in his head, because he does a good job fixing his face when he gives those answers. All right, here we are. A back-to-back. The Pistons tomorrow. Hello, James Wiseman. And we'll see you later. We'll see you soon. We're back on YouTube in just a moment. Thanks for watching.
Good night, guys.
Steve Kerr people are having a field day. Somebody's saying Kerr's not going anywhere. All right. Kerr will be fine. Lots of Kerr discussion right now happening. Somebody said, I don't know if I want, okay, hang on.
Ooh, now I want to know.
I think somebody said JK should find a coach who believes in him. Will the veterans stand up for JK? Let me ask, how do we know they're not? And they can't do that publicly because the cameras will catch them doing that. But I'm sure there's all sorts of discussions going on.
There was reporting on JK, and I think this is important when it comes to the relationship between JK and coaches, and really any young player and coaches, where he said on the podium, I believe, that I think he was just talking to a reporter, where he said he goes out and he doesn't know why.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And when you're talking to players that you're developing and you're getting better, that communication and that transparency is so important, because if you don't have that, it then impacts your confidence level. Yeah. Because it's just like raising a child.
Thank you.
But if you discipline a child, or if you are angry at a child, if you display any sort of negativity towards a child and they don't know why, it impacts them internally. It makes them assume that they did something wrong, but they don't know what.
Yeah.
So they don't have the opportunity to correct that behavior. And I feel like between Moses Moody, between Jonathan Kampinga, and other, young players, that is important for them to always know and always ask the question, always, not only just their coaches being able to tell them, but them being proactive and being like, what could I have done better? They need that communication. Or else bitterness, resentment, frustration. And we know that that is never positive for a team that is trying to figure out who they are.
Yeah, because you hear Steve Kerr say, I always want to communicate with my guys. In his career as a bench player, he wanted to know, when are my minutes coming? I need to stay ready, that kind of stuff. He prides himself on communicating with players.
Right.
So it's interesting.
I mean, we saw that. We literally saw a perfect example of how good of a communicator Steve Kerr is when you talk about the Klay Thompson conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? Klay Thompson literally said, Kerr calmed him down.
Yeah.
Took him off an edge.
It's not translating then with JK, because if he feels like he doesn't know why he's coming out, then you're right. That plants a seed of like a lack of confidence, or you start playing tight, any sort of mistake, and you're like, well, you look to the bench expecting the whistle, time to go on the bench.
Right.
Or tonight, why didn't he play in the fourth quarter? Moses Moody, also a DNP. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow. Pistons. All right, midnight rule, forget this one.